I think we're right there with you. Very, very similar. So yeah, thanks, dude. All right, Regan, we'll see if the audio's gonna work here. Can you hear? No.
Mine's not working very well. So I have a hard time here.
That's all right. Maybe if you can find a Bluetooth, we can get going here with Allen, and then maybe Regan, we can loop you back in. I think that's
just
what's.
Use the phone like a phone and do the video.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't with this. I wish.
Something's wrong to where I'm getting so many echoes. I can't.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just getting the feedback from the mic in his. So yeah, that is the one thing I wish we had a call in, like, old school number. So that's all right. But yeah, maybe we can get Regan on here if you can find a Bluetooth. If not, no worries. But well, Allen, why don't we let you get it kicked off here, and let's get into this season and kind of give us the lowdown of what's new versus what was on their last year.
Yeah. All right. Well, so the design of the kit is the same, with lots of, small changes and upgrades throughout. But our biggest and I keep looking over at my bike because it helps me remember. My our biggest changes this year are just improvements to the existing kit from last year. So this year, we obviously, the big news is the 3¼ inch 126 track. That is, I'm really, there's only a few people that have ridden it because we had it so late in the season.
Yeah, when did you guys start riding it last year?
Well, we started riding it was pretty late in the season, so we didn't get a ton of deep snow riding. We did get some fresh snow, but not deep bottomless snow because we got it too late for that. And then I rode it all the way until the snow was gone. But I'll tell you, the first thing we got a lot of experience doing this, so you know your differences, and so in comparing it to what else is out there, one being our 2½ inch track, is the first thing you notice is it speeds up with the throttle. So when it comes to just jetting through the woods and popping the throttle, you can literally launch it off of anything because of.
You mean versus last year?
Well, yeah, I'm just saying in comparison to, say, a 2½ inch track, it really speeds up with the throttle and it's very connected. And you would think that because it's such a large paddle that, well, does it bog the motor down? Not really. It's as live as it is with the 2½ inch track. It just is a more connected feel. So it's kind of hard to describe, but the first thing I do is I drive it through the woods from my cabin out to the mountain, and I'm jumping off of things I normally don't jump off of because I just chainsaw through them when I'm spinning my track. So that part's pretty fun. The second thing you'll notice is how steep of a hill it'll go up in comparison. So it will literally climb the mountain and the cliff at the top and then go up the tree that's at the top. Like, it literally will just climb until it flips over backwards. It's almost like it doesn't want to get stuck.
Yeah, I've done that before on the Riot 3-inch. I've done the whole flip over backwards, climbing steep stuff.
And you'll be surprised it doesn't power out. Like, you'd think that with the big paddle it would power out. It does not power out. So yeah, as far as me being a bigger guy, I mean, I can go up, mountains that most guys haven't even heard of.
Just so people understand, yeah, Allen's a big dude. Like, when I met him, I was like, "Yep, you're a big farm guy from friggin' Idaho, dude," and I'm from Idaho. So yeah, how tall are you and how much do you weigh, Allen?
So I'm 6'3", 230 pounds, and I eat meat and potatoes.
It's
so that's
amazing.
the
It's
big news.
amazing the difference. It's amazing the difference that makes. A buddy of mine I ride with, he's 6'1", 250, and I'm 5'10", 180. So it's it's free horsepower.
Yeah, but you can ask Rush this. I ride snow bikes like a fluttering butterfly. He's just shocked at the things I can get up. Being a big
I'd
guy,
expect
he's a
nothing
little
less
guy.
from you.
Yeah, so I got a few tricks up my sleeve, but yeah, so we're talking about the new stuff, and so the track being the big news. Obviously, that's all over the internet. There's some other details in the kit, and if you've been on the website, you'll see all of this, and we do have some additional tech videos on some of these things. So one of the things is we have revalved the suspension. We build a beast, but we continue to learn about the beast, and we learn how to make it better. And so we did make the internal valving improvement to the shocks, and really, I guess what we did was we sped up the rebound, which you would think would kind of be the opposite of what you would want, but what it does is
speeding it up.
Yeah, making it quicker. So what happens is it doesn't make the thing buck. What it does is it gives it actually a more pulled in feel. And how it does that is by allowing the track to stay with the surface of the snow, so that when you're going across the surface of the snow or over bumps, the track stays on the ground as much as possible. So what that does is prevents the motor from stuttering, because the track's momentarily leaving the ground. And it just rides on the surface of the snow, which gives you a little bit more traction because it's not skipping over as many bumps. So as faster you go, the quicker the rebound is, it tends to keep up. So I don't really have a video that explains that, but that's what the basics of the shock revalve are. So if you're an experienced rider, you're going to know this improvement.
And what did you guys experience last year? Like why did you decide, hey, we want to make this change?
Well, I'm a shock guy, and I'm always messing with shocks. I'm never not messing with shocks. When I buy a new side-by-side, that's the first thing I do is I take the shocks off and I start working on them. I'm kind of a shock nerd. So yeah, I learn things just by trying things, and it takes time to learn this stuff. So like when you're developing a new product from scratch, like we did last year, we spent all our time on other things, where this year I had more time to focus on the suspension and some of the finer details. So that's new. The other thing's new is we added a front limiter strap into the rear suspension. So we're constantly doing things to the suspension to make it better, and do more things and accommodate more types of people. The suspension in this kit is probably the highest end suspension I've ever built for anything, snow bikes or snowmobiles. It just has more components, and it has a different and more purposeful function. But one reason we added the limiter strap in was this for additional tunability. It's hard to make a snow bike or anything with a suspension be perfect at everything. So adding adjustability in makes it more dual purpose. So maybe our kit's very light on the front end, and it's very poppy. Some guys don't like that.
I was going to say, what was
takes that away.
Yeah, what was the last year? It seemed that was a challenge for some people. They struggled.
I think the challenge is learning how to ride this kit over something else, and the first thing you notice is it steers easy, but it doesn't mean that you steer the handlebars all the time. So this kit works better by leaning and turning and carving than it does to just turn the handlebars. So when you lean this, you're standing up, you're going through the woods, or you're going down the trail, you lean it and it steers. So you initiate the turn, but then you almost like straighten out the handlebars and it carves the snow. So most guys that get on it, they go to steer it and it steers easy, but it might push the front end if you oversteer it. So you learn how to lean it. And so that's the learning curve that you go through when you ride this over another kit. So that takes a little bit.
Yeah. And I think it was interesting, and I don't know, just because I've ridden so many different snow bikes, but when I rode it, I was just, I thought it felt great. You know, I didn't think like, oh, it felt really weird or different. I mean, obviously it feels different. It had that front end lightness, but I had ridden other kits that had felt similar. So it didn't feel, you know, totally off to me, and it felt very, very good. I mean, I like that feeling of the front light front end.
Sure. So the purpose of the limiter strap was, you know, not everybody likes that light front end, but we use it for multiple purposes. One is you can pull it down. It'll still ride light on the front end, but it will give you more positive steering if you pull it up. So it puts weight on the front end. But when you're in the soft snow, it doesn't change much. It still steers light. And then if you suck it up like 2 holes, and I use the 2 holes as an example because that's an effective change. It, you know, our kit, the skid is very far forward in it, and it has a pretty steep track angle. And there are conditions where we found that it can trench, and it's usually an early season snow or corn snow that doesn't have any base. And when you suck the limiter strap up 2 holes, it takes all that away. It pulls the front of the suspension arm up, reduces the track angle. It angles the back of the skid down into the snow, you know, and you get just 2 holes will give you a 15 to 20% climbing improvement in bottomless snow. However, don't leave it there for the rest of the year, because as soon as there's base in the snow, then none of it matters.
Got it.
You know, and anybody who has one of these has experienced exactly that. So that's a second reason for the limiter strap. The third reason is we have an accessory where you can put a rear limiter strap in it, and you can actually lower the kit down. Because low kits are kind of a thing. And so we wanted an option.
Especially for people that aren't, you know, 6'2", 6'3".
Well, yeah, or you're just a lightweight person and you're not tall. A lot of ladies have this going on, and this just makes it very simple to be able to lower it down. And if you don't like it, you just let it back out. So it's got 4 holes adjustment, and by lowering it, and you have to have this accessory, which is a rear arm limiter strap. You'll see that in one of our videos that's on the website.
How much lower can you get it down with this setup, with this limiter strap?
It'll lower it 1.5 inches on the seat, which is it's a 36-inch seat height.
Okay, so 1.5 inches. Good to know.
Yeah. Yep, and you don't really need to recalibrate the shocks or do any of that. You just basically push her down and suck it up. Yeah, the suspension's a little stiffer when you do that.
I mean, and for
the air pressure, I guess.
For those of you who don't know and haven't ridden the kit, the one really great thing I loved about the Mtn Top kit and the manual was Allen. They've developed this, chart. Essentially, it's like, okay, here's your weight, here's how you want to ride, adjust it to this. So it's really handy, especially for me. I'm cycling through so many people. I'm like, how many? Oh, you're 200 pounds. You're a newbie. All right, dude, I'm going to set it up like this to be planted. And so that's super handy. So as you have the limiter strap, and then someone who's smaller, you throw your wife on there, someone who's just shorter and maybe they don't want it to be rowdy, the settings are there in the direction. So that's super handy.
Sure.
In fact, what I would recommend, and I'm just throwing this out there, Allen, but you guys could include a little like shot card with the kits for people. What I did was I downloaded it on my phone, and then I have a screenshot. So when we're out there in the field, we just pop it up. Oh, this is what we need to dial it in. Again, most people aren't probably having to adjust it as much as we are.
Well, if you have somebody different riding it all the time like you do, then I guess that's a thing. But most guys just find their setting that they like, and they keep it there.
Yep. Hell yeah. So anything else on the limiter strap?
No, that's pretty much it. That's the long and short of it.
Okay. Well, I was gonna Regan's back on, so I'm gonna have Regan join again. We'll see if we can get the audio here, and maybe we'll get lucky. So Regan, can you hear us okay, dude?
I can hear you pretty clearly now.
Dude,
can you hear me?
That's money. Yeah. You sound great.
Awesome.
Yeah. Can you hear him okay, Allen?
Yeah, I can hear him great.
Yeah. That's all it
back
was.
in business.
Yeah, you and I got the headphones. So
Yeah,
well, cool.
didn't show up
Well,
to the party
Regan,
with the headphones.
yeah, bro. Sorry, I should have told you beforehand.
all
I was
good.
having audio issues too. So Regan, all right, man. Give us, for those of you who don't know Regan Sieg, Regan's been riding just about longer than anybody else besides Allen and just all the OG, the original guys that started riding. So Regan, first of all, yeah, if you can give us just a little brief background about not only your snow bike history, but your moto history in general, and where that led up to now snow biking and when you got started.
Well, my background definitely comes from riding moto. I've been on motorbikes since I was a kid, as long as I can remember. I started racing motocross, in my low teens, and really chased motocross for a long time, became a pro rider. And then from that level, when I was just about 20, I jumped into the freestyle motocross division of things and started, jumping ramps and doing all that. And that changed my focus. So then I became a freestyler for almost 20 years, and I've done that for a long time. Also have a background in off-road riding as well. So just a well-rounded motorcycle rider. Growing up in the mountains of British Columbia, I also was on snowmobiles a lot as a kid. My parents were very adventurous. We were always out ice fishing or doing something. So I've been on snowmobiles since I was a kid in the backcountry. So just all the way I grew up kind of just led me to snow bikes. And when Alan,
where'd you grow up again?
I'm in Vernon, BC, Canada.
Vernon, got it. Yeah, so you're up there by the Vernon Snow Chimp guys. You're not too. How far are you from C3?
Not too far. They're about a 40-minute drive.
Okay, so
we got a nice little hub here. Lots of good riding.
You guys got a good crew. You got Shannon up there and Matt, and just there's a whole bunch of you guys up there.
Yeah, and then Interspace, kind of started the crew with Chad, and we've made a good posse around here. We've got fun terrain, good people. The kits have just awesome. Grown and grown and got so much better over the years.
Yeah, see, you've seen the evolution from the beginning, man.
Yeah, it's I kind of was watching what snow bikes were doing, being a snowmobiler and a dirt biker, and I was kind of watching what it was doing, and then one of my friends that was an old sponsor of mine, Garfield, he was playing with the two moto kits and selling them, and he ended up getting me on one day, and it was the first time for me to get on a Snowbike kit, and it really did show me what a snow bike would feel like in the snow. The kit then didn't quite sell me on that was where I was going to go in the future, but
what year was that? Do you remember?
It would have been, can't remember what year, but it was probably 2 or so years before 2011 when I actually got on one, because there was a hiatus in between when I rode one and I was thinking about it, and then all of a sudden the timber sled came out and I was looking at it, and I just really looked at the fact that it was built out of things that I understood. It was built out of snowmobile skid, and that's what's gotten machines across snow to that point in time. So the whole recipe of Allen taking something that wasn't too foreign for snow travel and adapting it to the snow bike, to me, it was kind of the click. Like, it's kind of a now or never. If this platform is going to do something, it's going to prove itself now, I feel, and start moving forward. So it was kind of a key time for me to decide, do I really want to be a part of the snow bike movement or do I not? And
I think we lost him there real quick. That was Alan, or did I lose you? Are you there still?
No, I'm you got
okay.
me.
I think it was just Wi-Fi. Man, it was going so good there for a minute. So Alan, so Regan, this is 2000. Yeah, I remember because Moto talking to Brett Blazer. I think it was 08, 09 when they started, when things went sideways because of the economy and stuff. And then you started up 2011. So, and then that's when Regan said he started getting into it. But you didn't know who Regan was, right?
No, I met, and I'll finish Regan's story, I guess.
Here, I'll add him back in here. We'll see if it starts working. I think it was just your Wi-Fi, Regan. And then of course, and then his mic too. It's just maybe it wasn't meant to be tonight for Regan's mic, because we can see it just fine. But yeah, you were I muted it and then I unmuted it, Regan. Maybe just join again, just like jump back into that link and see. And if not, dude, no worries. But yeah, if you said you were finishing Regan, so yeah, you didn't know who Regan was, and then 2011 was when he saw one, right?
Yeah, well, so his story goes, and my story goes, is we were at the Jackson Hill Climb, and
This is 2011.
Yeah. So, well, I think it's 2011. I'm not sure the exact year, but he came specifically to come meet me and see what this, mountain horse snowbike kit was all about.
So where did he see it? Like, did he see one up in Canada?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's seen it on the internet. And then also, I'll ask him exactly, but somehow Brock Hoyer was involved in all this too. And
that's what, yeah,
kind of came together to see this thing. But I think Brock was one of the first to get one of my first kits. So I'm not sure if Regan's seen it. I think Regan may have seen it first from Brock, and then they came to the Jackson.
I do remember you guys, talking about that.
Yeah, and so we've been friends ever since. And of course, these guys are professional riders, and took this snowbike thing to a whole new level. Really, I mean, nobody was doing anything cool on them until Regan showed up and Brock showed up.
Yeah. So Regan, Allen was just giving us the little bit of how we were trying to figure out how you found out about the timber sled, and he was saying he thought it was for Brock had one or something.
Yeah. So Brock was the first one to get one, and I think that was in the 2010 run of kits. So it would have been the first year. And at that time, Brock and I were both riding for Kawasaki Canada for different reasons. He was on the Canadian race team, and I was kind of on the freestyle side of things. And we were very like-minded people anyways, really liked to have fun on dirt bikes and snow machines. So when he got the snow bike, he was a pretty easy guy for me to go to. I'd never tried one. And I'd actually blown up my snowmobile at that point in time. So I was kind of at a time where I was thinking about things. And I asked him, like, what do you really think about this thing after he's only ridden it about 2 times? And told me that he was kind of riding with snowmobile course at that time, getting the trees and stuck one while. He kind of said he was just around the sleds a lot of times and not getting stuck that much. And he just explained it to me that he had a really good smile on his face and having a good time. And I was asked him if he was going to interested in getting back on his sled right away. And he said, no, really, this thing's actually quite fun. So took his word for it, called Booster, and it'll last 2 kits because my friend was ready to get one with me. And we jumped on snow bikes and never looked back.
So that was all 2011, you said?
Yeah, that was around the 2011. I think January of 2011 is when I ended up getting.
So Brock gets one. Then at that point, you bought one, right? You're like, okay, I'm gonna get one, and then
I came on the screen here, but hopefully you guys.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so that was he said 2011, and then he gets one. So then Allen, he comes to, you said the, what was it? The Jackson Hole Hill Climb?
Yep.
And he tracked you down.
Yeah. They came, I think we may have lost him, but they came to meet me, and I had a booth at Jackson. And then, I also climbed that hill that year.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah,
telling me about that.
Quite classical.
and that was on the Cowie as well, right?
Yeah, it's on Kawasaki.
Yeah.
They had the Snowhawk exhibition, and it was a Snowhawk thing. They were gonna go destroy the hill on these high-powered Snowhawks. Well, they embarrassed themselves on the hill. None of them even made it close. And I went up it and just went. I couldn't go straight up it either. It was too beat up and icy. But what I could do is side hill and maneuver. And it took me a while, but I was determined to make it up that hill, and I did all the way to the top on a stock Kawasaki dirt bike with a track on the back.
Dude, that's awesome, man. And then yeah, I don't know. I think Regan's internet or something's going on, but that's okay. You know the story. So then Regan tracks you down there, and then what? Tell us the rest of the story. What happened there?
Well, I honestly don't even hardly remember because it was a long time ago. But we hung
Getting
out,
old.
got to know those two guys, and eventually I can't remember where at what point, but Regan, I realized he was not a joke; he was the real deal.
You realize Regan? He said Regan. He realized you were the real deal. You weren't a joke.
I wasn't a joke. That's all I heard when I came back on.
Yeah,
I moved my location. We'll see
he
if this works.
He didn't hear the joke.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll
Well,
see
that's
if
what I
that
was
spot
trying.
works better.
I was trying to meet Allen to show him I was going to be a pretty important part to this deal, and I was hungry to do something new, and my recipe kind of fit right in with where this was going, and that's why I kind of went across country and chased him down to make sure I could, meet him face to face, and then
So
go from there
funny.
and see if there was a future.
That's awesome. Did Brock come with you, or did you go down there by yourself?
I actually, since I was so plugged into the freestyle motocross scene, it was my friends from Octane Addictions that were putting on the snowmobile freestyle show at Jackson Hole, and he offered to bring me down as a judge because I had no other reason to be there. Help pay my way, help give me a reason to be there, but my underlying goal was to be there to kind of meet Allen, the inventor of this kit, and get my foot in the door right there while it was fresh and try to move forward. And,
awesome.
we climbed the hill together, which was a hoot. I'd never seen the hill before. Made it to the top. Allen's obviously bigger than me. We were all over the hill, right? It was like a free-for-all with the bikes. But at the end of the day, I did make it to the top. I do think Allen didn't make it that day. But for me, it was kind of one of those things. I was just like, at least he's going to remember who I am from here on. I shook his hand, and I was like, it was a great time. And, my name's Regan. I want to do more with you. And he actually ended up kind of setting me up as a garage dealer to move forward from then on. As I left that day, I kind of agreed to move forward with him because it's not like he was a huge company. I wasn't expecting, any massive sponsorship. It was a way to move forward, and that was it. I moved forward as a garage dealer at that time, and that's what I had to do. And that started our friendship and our business together. And, I think we worked hard, and we just started going from there and opened lots of doors, and kits got better. And, it's been a lot of fun.
So Regan, and for again anybody who hasn't seen Regan's friggin' shit, go look him up and watch his videos. Regan sends it like I remember the first video I watched of you. It was one of the Red Bull ones, and you're like walking up, you're like, it looks good, like making your line just freaking right off this giant cliff. So right away, I mean, were you like full sending his shit, his kits and just destroying them, or I mean, how did that evolution happen?
Well, we had to work with the kits. It all kind of worked its way up. At first it wasn't all sending. I started on the 6-inch ski. If y'all ever tried a 6-inch ski and ever tried to send on one of those, I had a sore neck for many years. Many years. But I tried.
Conversation, haven't we, Kyle?
Yeah.
I always tried to work with what I had and tried to push it to the best of its ability. And then, we would redesign, things would get a little bit better. We'd push them a little bit harder. The first year and 2 years was a little bit, of a struggle to send big, but it really came along quite quick, and the jump started getting bigger, and the ability to use the terrain got better. And let's face it, the terrain that we have out there is just amazing. And when you have a machine that can do what's in your mind, it's just it's mind blowing what you can do. So it's just, as the machines got better, the things I was able to put together were better. And now we're to the point where you go to the back country and you're not even thinking about the same things. You just look at something and your machine can do it and you can do it. And it's amazing.
Your machine can do it, and you can do it. And the rest of us are saying that looks like death.
At least I try to pretend myself, I got this.
Yeah, you got to, right?
Convince myself before I go. You got to.
That's right, man.
Got to have the confidence.
One thing I learned about Regan, though, he's very calculated and he doesn't make very many mistakes. And, when you get to our age, your body can't handle mistakes. So when he jumps something, it's calculated. He knows exactly what he's doing, where he's going to land, how he's going to land, and he pulls it off every time that I've watched him, do a big jump. I'm sure he screws up sometimes, but not often.
Yeah. riding on like dirt bikes and doing the freestyle motocross and riding that level and jumping to metal ramps my whole life, it learns you to jump into a very specific spot all the time, or else you're going to get really hurt. So with being in the mountains and doing all that, it's all got crazy recipes to what you can and can't do, but it's still not landing on a little metal ramp that can kill you all the time. So me, I'm landing on the side of a mountain, I can hit that. So sometimes, you know, the window of where I have to hit is bigger, but then I know I've opened Alan's eyes a couple times and sent some jumps that just land between two tiny little trees way down in the distance, and you come flying from way up on a knoll somewhere, and you know, I'm just throwing snowballs down the land and be like, I'll land right there. And sure, you know, within a couple feet of where I throw that snowball. So it's fun.
Yep.
It's so cool to be able to do stuff like that, because nothing is ever the same in the backcountry. Every jump's different, every day is different, every line's different.
I've realized as I've watched you and all the riders out there who send it big, at least from as I've talked to them, seems like most people have this motocross background where they used to do that stuff growing up, or, you know, at some point in their life, because I think for those of us, myself, you know, I never did motocross, never did big jumps. You see that and you're just like, dude, it just is like, you can't even wrap your mind around it. You know, I'm like, I'll just stick to the 5 to 10 foot shit. But it's awesome to watch. And to Alan's point, you have to be so calculated in that, because mistakes equal death, you know, sometimes. And it's obviously a little different on snow, but because you've done that for so many years, you came in with this like this tool bag already, like, all right, dude, I can take everything I've done with snowmobiles and freestyle and all this. Now I get to apply it to the ultimate freedom.
Exactly.
What did that feel like, dude? Like the first time, like having all this stuff in your head and being able to like, okay, I'm pretty sure I can do this. I have never maybe done this yet on the snow bike, but because I've done it on a dirt bike, I've done it on a snowmobile. Do you remember like the first big jump you hit on a snow bike, and like what year was that?
Well, we were definitely a couple years in from 2011 before we were able to really start sanding it. You know, I think we were on the SX kits by then, SX 120 with the third shock. Getting to the bigger ski, you know, the skis were a big player in how big we could go. A lot happened the first day I got the triple keel backcountry ski. Like almost.
This is the 10.5 inch one, right?
Yeah, it was the first one that we made. The first time I got that ski, I went in the backcountry and I was like, okay, it's time to test this thing. And we rolled up into the backcountry, and the very first cliff I saw between the trees, I was like, stop here. Stop everything here. We're used to like hitting a jump and not being able to control the bike at all. You know, we're using the 10-inch wide Simmons to that point. So I you know, lined up for this cliff with the new ski and everything. And I mean, if you go back to some of my videos, this video is still up from back in the day. I jump off this cliff that goes through a hallway of trees, and you have to, you know, be on point so you don't go slamming into a tree. And that thing jumped so well, it landed perfect, and it popped back out of the snow, and I was in immediate control within a second. And a light bulb went off in my head, and I just said, it is on. And we literally worked our way up the mountain, and every single thing I could see, from double drops to hip jumps to everything I could see within reason, that day I hit, and probably did about 15, 20 different lines as we worked our way up into the backcountry. And I just couldn't believe it. You know, we went from not being able to control the front end to having something that would bounce back out of the snow and take all this stuff I wanted to throw at it. So it was a huge step in the right direction.
That's freaking wild, dude. So okay. So now you're riding for Allen, you're riding for Timber Sled. Talk us through the transition then, you know, I mean, cause you rode for Timber Sled until essentially Allen started MTN Top Snowbike.
Yeah. I worked my way up to, you know, I was a dealer for many years, but I mean, I was just a dirt biker. So I was trying to do a little bit of everything. It was a little bit overwhelming for me. I eventually moved into the sales rep position, looking after more of the BC reps, and moved out of the dealer position. And also, of course, always being an athlete and doing my athlete end. So from there on, we sorry, what direction were we going? I kind of just lost track on one.
Yeah, you're talking about, you know, you rode for Timber Sled up until Allen started MTN Top Snowbike. So you're obviously helping to push the sport along. You're sending it hard. So talk us through transitioning from Timber Sled to MTN Top and how that how that looked.
Yeah, so it was a little bit of a blind side for me when Allen did sell the company. I wasn't really notified at first. Am I still on there?
Yeah, we got
Okay,
you. I just
yeah,
figured
okay,
we'll throw
sounds
up
good.
a couple of your sends here as you're talking.
Yeah. And I really didn't know which way that was going to go with everything. Obviously, jumping onto Polaris, it was a huge change to us. It was still timber sled essentially, so we're moving forward with the products and everything. So it was different. I kind of lost my position as being a sales rep because Polaris took that all over. So I lost some of my positions in the industry as far as that goes, and I was continued on with timber sled and Polaris as an athlete division, and helping with some testing and product feedback with the products, but really doing a lot of the athlete end of stuff. So we went many years with that. I mean, Polaris was great. They did a lot to help innovate the product, move it forward. There's so many tools in their tool belt they were able to do. So it was amazing time working with them. They brought the product way up, added all kinds of things. The TSS, all kinds of stuff. Allen was working with them at the same time as well. But, overall the years, I did have a little bit of a harder time kind of settling into where I was going in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a lot of history on what we did in the time that Timber Sled was there, and I was trying to move forward, and I was always trying to sink my teeth back into that company a little bit. I had a bit of a hard time. So when Allen did mention that he was opening up a new company and going to be back in the industry, and, that opportunity was at all thrown towards me, it was really, I didn't think I was going to have a second chance at where we were going in the first place. So that was kind of the step towards where we were and where we were going back then. I was glad to see Allen kind of wanting to sink his teeth back into the industry and get back into it. It is a very passion-driven industry.
I imagine a lot of those initial feelings of why you got into it was like back again, because you're like, oh, cool. It's like, back in the day now. I get to work with Allen directly. I get to give direct, feedback and everything. I'm sure that he was pretty stoked about that. Oh, did we just lose him? It was working well though for a little bit though.
He's got some glitchy internet, I think.
Yeah, no worries. Regan's back. We just lost you for just a second, Regan. No worries, dude. When I do the final edit, that's the great thing about doing this stuff, is when I do the final edit, I get to take all of that out. So we'll just have Regan the whole time. So as Regan's getting back in here, so Allen, you talked to Regan. Obviously, I mean, you've been working with him for a long time at Timber Sled, so you talked to Regan. Tell me how that, kind of went, like whatever it is that you can give there. How did that transpire? I mean, were you like, hey dude, I'm building a new kit. I'd love to have you ride one.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But Regan and I are buddies, right? We're not just business buddies. We're buddies. So, we spent a lot of time just riding together. Obviously there's a separation from where he lives and where I live, but I value his opinion. And one thing he's maybe hasn't said yet is, he's obviously an athlete, but he's also, a product, validator, tester. I mean, his opinion,
in a big way.
Well, yeah, his feedback ends up in this kit, right?
Yeah.
So, not very many people do I trust exactly what they say. I can't write it like he writes it. So yeah, a lot of his input and stuff ends up in this product, and more so than you think.
I can only imagine that it's one of those like, well, Regan didn't break it. Like, it's probably someone else is going to have a hard time breaking it. So if Regan's breaking it, like, okay, that's the benchmark, I guess. So yeah, Regan, he was kind of,
my goal was never to compromise the way I rode something because it was built light or something like that. My goal was to ride it the way my eyes saw it and the way my mind wants to do it. And, if I broke something on the kit while doing that, so be it. And I would always feed that back to the people on my team, let them know, it's something. If you hit a stump or something, you've wrecked something. Oh, I crinkled the side. Well, that's hitting something. But if I'm just riding something day to day and I have something surface, doesn't matter if I'm hitting jumps, because that's something I'm going to do all the time. If something does fail, that's something my team's going to hear about, and we're going to try to find a way to make that not happen in the future. And it's a lot of what happened to help us get to where we were this whole time is me talking a little bit and everyone listening too. And I say, like, the last year with Allen, it's just been so great. Every time I talk to him, it's like within days he has a fix for me or even just a response, and his mind is always going on something, and that makes it really fun. So when I express something I want, it really gets him going, and I know he's listening and he's working on things, and I might not hear from him for a couple of days. All of a sudden, boom, he's got some kind of answer for what I said again. So it's great.
With the part done, here, I fixed it. It's done.
Yeah.
It's ready to go.
Reagan tests a lot of things for me, and we got a lot of packages going back and forth with tuning and strength testing of things. So yeah,
So Reagan, tell us then now about transitioning. So you rode timber sled for so long, and then last year is your first year you're riding this kit all the time. Talk us through what that was like being on this kit, and for you, the differences and where you saw the advantages of riding this type of kit.
Yeah, so I mean, when I first jumped on the mountaintop, at first I thought we were going to have a 3-inch kit and a 2.5-inch kit at first, but it didn't work out that way. The 3-inch got a little bit prolonged, so I did end up having to ride the 2.5-inch kit, which was a little bit, not what I was used to at the time. And going back to 2.5, it was a little bit new for me, and I didn't know what to think about it. So
because you've been riding a 3-inch for how long?
We've been on it for years, ever since the Aero 3 came out. I don't think I ever looked back to be on anything less at that point in time. So to take a step back to the 2.5-inch in my mind was a bit of a step back, maybe. But, after riding for years, I mean, I'm not going to say that the 2.5 won every day in every condition, but man, did it ever have its days, and it did great all the time because I never got left behind. I was always where any 3-inch kit was, but there were some days where the 2.5 even excelled. But overall, the 2.5 had a really great ride quality, in all kinds of conditions. And that's why Allen kind of stuck to that idea of having one, is you need one in your fleet, because not everybody gets to ride super deep snow all the time. And those days that it's not super deep, that 2.5 is a really nice track to ride. But it proved that it held its own throughout the whole season.
So what does that translate for you when you say it's a really nice track to ride versus like 3-inch versus, the 2.5? And again, like you said, where you ride up in Canada, you guys get some deep, deep snow.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy the 2.5, and I can see where people would really enjoy the 2.5. I'm still going to be a guy that's going to want to be on this 3.25, but it really opened my eyes to the ability of what that 2.5 did, and the way Allen changed a few things and how it stood up against some of the other tracks that were big lugs. And a track is not just a track, and you get to learn that after a while. Stiff lugs, soft lugs, it's not just all about the paddle length. So there's a lot more going on in the track than just a track holding paddles. I mean, Allen is the one to get into the details with all that, but it comes right down to the thickness of the belting and how it likes to roll. And I mean, if you ever touch a mountaintop kit, the first thing you're going to notice is how nicely it rolls. I've watched someone roll their kit out of their truck and get rolled over their own leg because the thing came out of the truck so fast. And you're normally used to pulling out a snowbike kit and it's skidding all the way down the ramp for the truck. So the bike actually rolls right out of the truck, and it rolls like 2 bike lengths away from my truck if I hold on to it without touching the brakes. So, stuff like that's really nice with the light drive and the way it rolls. It spools up power really nice, and it doesn't come off the power as easy when you're, climbing hills. It's not wallowing the power as much. So there's a lot of refined things that Allen is really focused on with this kit, which is really cool. The ski is not edgy, and it's just really light feeling, but the harder you want to push on it, the more it really grabs. And I kind of explain it as almost like a slalom ski type feeling, is I get to lay right into dragging bars and keeping the power on, and that thing really just bites really consistently and just pulls right out of hard corners, but it still keeps that light ski feeling in almost every snow condition.
Got it. And so last season, then obviously you were riding it all last year. What was the, I guess, the biggest things you noticed as you progressed throughout the season with this kit over the other kits you had ridden that you really liked?
Well, I think just overall, it really fit into a nice, well-rounded kit. The seat height is nice. It feels the size of a bike. It's balanced very well with the weight of the kit and the bike. Everything just feels like it meshes really good, and that's really what we want. We don't want to feel like we have a really long, weird thing on the back and a weird ski on the front. Everything just felt very streamlined. I found I could stand up on this kit a little bit better and steer it. So I think just the
Like standing up
transitioning,
riding.
standing up riding more, and
Yeah.
especially going downhill, I found I would stand up because I could get the kit to turn a little bit to one way and the other way by just weighting my pegs a little bit, and it would react. And it had a bit more of a mountain bike type feel while I was picking down through stuff. I noticed quite often. So
That's
one
interesting.
of the feels I noticed, but really after every day, I never really came home tired on the kit, and that's what I noticed. It's not very edgy, and it doesn't really work you out hard. It doesn't have a sticky ski feeling that works your shoulders. Yeah, at the end of the day, I always felt like I had a really good ride, and I wasn't beat up by the kit, and that's one of the main things you're looking for at the end of the day as well.
And it seemed like you were your full sends you were still doing those just fine.
Oh yeah, full sends. Adventuring into new places in the backcountry, getting on a new kit for the first time in a year. It's not like I know what I can do with it. It was a full reset. And, with years of experience, I had, that kit needs to perform for me. And we did everything we've done before. We went new places. We jumped all kinds of drops, hips, you name it. Lots of fresh powder, lots of deep days as well. There's some of the 509 videos we did. We hit some of the deepest days there were out there last year. And the kit held up. It got me through a great season. I learned a lot about it. And it was a great season. Moving into this season, I just so even more excited because I don't have that new kit feel. I know everything that I'm getting into. I'm really looking forward to the new track and some of the stuff that Allen has done. And just can't wait for the season to get started. It's been a long, dry summer here.
Everybody's Jones, and I know Canada. In Montana, it's been ridiculous. So 3 1/4, 126. You never. I mean, that's a totally new redesign, man. What's your initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't come quite soon enough for me to ride it yet. But I mean, I've been waiting for it. You bet, I've been waiting for it. It just sounds phenomenal. I like the size of track, just that little bit shorter. I like things that are rowdy, and I like rider input, and I like things that are going to do what I want it to at a whim. So if I want it to spin around in a wheelie, I want a kit that can do that. If I have to get over the front to keep the front end down, that's fine. Or adjust the throttle or adjust my line choice to make something happen. But I do like something that's not planted and it is a little bit fun. So the whole thing with the extra traction, bigger pitch on the paddle, still keeping a lighter weight track. I really can't wait to put it to the snow.
Hell yeah, dude! I can't.
I'm an
I
adventure kind of guy, and I like getting like first lines into places and places I've never seen, and just having traction and playfulness and be able to pull those places that you've been dreaming of. There's not much better feeling.
Dude,
and then of course send everything that you find.
Yeah, full send. I'm excited to see you ride again this season, to hopefully get up there and do some ripping with you and the crew up there. And man, thank you for your time. Anything else you want to say, parting thoughts and words on the kit and this season?
I'm just, I'm stoked everybody has been super positive with this. I'm stoked Allen is back in this. I'm stoked to be a part of Mountain Top, and Rush and everyone else as the part of the team. We have really assembled, a lot of the OGs that were originally with Mountain Top and everything are dealer based. It comes down to a lot of great people that really want to get back to the snow bike industry. We're not just here to sell kits. We're here to, make the industry better one step at a time. Last year was our entry into this, and I think only place we have to go is up, and we're going to keep trying to do that. So just looking forward to a great season working with this team and keep building on what we got going here.
Hell yeah. Well, cool. Well, thanks, Allen. Anything you want to say to Reagan before he bails here?
Oh, I mean, I always appreciate what Reagan does and says, and we work together good as a team. So I'm super proud to have them on my new Mountain Top Company team. But most of all, I think it's, the whole business is based around these relationships that we all have, and having fun what we're doing and making a living doing it. So,
hell yeah,
Reagan.
Yeah, happy
Awesome.
to be a part of the team, ride snow bikes.
That's why we're all here, right?
Happier.
Ride snow bikes. Well, thanks for sticking with this, Regan, and working through the technical issues, man. Really appreciate your thoughts, and looking forward to our next chat.
Yeah, sorry for being a little jumpy there. I just couldn't get it to
stick
in there with me. But thanks for putting up with me, everyone. It's great to be here, and we'll see you soon. Hopefully, we'll see everyone out on the hills.
Awesome. Thanks, bro.
Okay, take care.
All right, we'll see it.
Bye.
So Allen, let's get back into it, dude. I'm just like, all I can think about is riding. I mean, that's all I always tell everybody. I go, as soon as the season ends in the end of May, I'm like, yeah, June's cool. I'm dirt biking and I love dirt biking, but I'm ready to snow bike. So I think everybody on here is feeling that as well. So you talked about the limiter strap. Before we get into the next new stuff, did you want to go through anything else there?
Well, I mean, I think I'm wanting some questions. Let's do some questions.
Cool. Was there anything new there? Did you want to talk through the track before we get questions, or do you feel like you covered that?
I mean, we got a lot of information out about the track. I think I described it pretty well. I guess we kind of call it the Big Daddy track around here.
The Big Daddy.
It's just when you look at it for the first time, you can see pictures and stuff. When you look at it for the first time, it's like looking at 40-inch tires on your pickup truck. It's pretty cool.
Freaking Matt. Yeah. So guys, for those of you, I'm sure most people know, but as people are watching this online, in the future here, 3 1/4 inch track, never been done before. This is an industry first. And not only is it 3 1/4 inch track, but it is a 126. I mean, I've never even seen a 126. I think that you talked about in the very beginning, there was like a 126 track, right? Like when you guys first started?
No, not American made. Maybe there was something from overseas. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, the length is came up for a few reasons. It's like, okay, what is the ultimate length? Obviously, we know what 129 is about. We know what 120 is about, and we know what 137 is all about. So, how do we blend all of that a little bit? And that's how the 126 thing came up. Now, also, our wish was that the track is an even window track. That makes a balanced track. There's not an odd set of window or an odd set of paddles on the track.
So one quick thing on that, Allen, because I don't think some people know this. I remember it was my second season snowbiking, and I was looking at, it was a Yeti track at the time. And I was like, what the hell is this? There's like these extra set of tracks. And then that's when everybody's like, oh yeah, that's how all these kits are. There's like an extra set of tracks because of the way they're designed. So what Alan's saying, for those of you that don't know, is there is an equal amount of tracks or paddles across the entire track. So there isn't some random, set that kind of throws off the weight.
So to describe that, so windows, or how many clips are on the track,
right here,
circle, a 129 2.86 pitch that you have on like a 2.5 inch track, that's a 45 window track. So there's 45 clips all the way around in a circle. On the 126 3.5 pitch track, there's only 36 windows.
Interesting. So there's only 36 of these.
Yeah, there's only 36 clips versus 45.
So that's reducing weight.
So
of
45
course.
is an odd number, and 36 is an even number. So if you can imagine, when it comes to the paddles being on there every other window, because they're only on there every other time, every other clip, I guess. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it's 36 windows. So it's a lot less windows. It's a lot less paddles. and it's an even amount of paddles because 36 is an even number.
What? And then you're only losing, like you said, 1.5 inches off the length of the track.
Yeah, so it's 3 inches in length and divided in two because it goes around in a circle. It's folded in half, so it's 1.5 inches. So if you look at our 129 kit, you'll see that the axle is adjusted to the back of the slot, and on the 126 is adjusted to the front of the slot. That was on purpose from the very beginning because this is like we said, we were hoping to have this the first year and couldn't quite get it all done.
And I think that's one of the great things that I know I'm excited about. And I'm sure most people is like, dude, if you want a different track, you don't have to buy a whole new kit. You just buy a different track.
Yeah. And so our kit, we have a kit, it'll be on the website soon, but it'll be a kit that comes with the driver and the track, a new set of adjuster bolts, and a new set of stickers for the back of your tunnel that say that it's a 3/4 inch kit.
Right.
So we'll have a kit out for that for the guys that bought a kit last year who want to upgrade to this.
Yep. Awesome. Anything else that you want to go through the track before we start grabbing some questions? Guys, by the way, go ahead and start lining up your questions now. And then while Allen is finishing up here, I'll start sorting through these and showing them.
Yeah. So I guess maybe one thing I'll talk on besides how impressively large it is the design. If you look at that picture that you have on the screen, you'll see that the paddles are overlapped a bit. And with our 4-paddle design, which is 4 paddles from left to right, if you count, the paddles have some overlap. And the purpose of that is to get it to run down the trail smooth. So we've had some guys ask, well, how does it work on hard pack? Well, it works really good on hard pack. It almost, you can't hardly tell a difference between a 2.5 and this 3.25. And having that overlap in the paddle helps that track run smooth down the trail. Typically,
because it's not like missing when it's going down the trail.
It's not like a swamp or bogger tire that's just whapping the ground. It's actually got.
Wait, what did you say? What was the term you just said? A what?
A super swamper bogger tires.
Super swamper bogger tires. Love it. Got it.
Yeah, it's aggressive, but this helps smooth it out in its ability to roll and rotate.
I'm tracking. Got it.
Yeah, I got a lot of weird terms.
That's funny. Now I'm like, I gotta see what the hell this thing looks like, because I've never been in a swamp bogger, but it sounds fun.
Heck with it.
Oh, there we go, like this.
Yeah.
One of these bad boys.
Yeah, there you go. That's not going to roll very smooth down the road. So,
but
the overlap in the paddles makes it.
Yeah,
smooth.
that makes sense.
There's a smooth section in the center of the track.
Got it. Got it.
So,
and it only weighs 2 pounds more.
Yeah, it's 2 pounds heavier than a 2.5 inch track.
Got it.
So, it's 36 pounds.
Okay.
I don't know what other tracks weigh, but our 2.5 is 34 pounds.
Got it. No, that's something that I mean, I'm really curious because I know for me, I wasn't a big 3-inch fan personally because that reason right there too. When especially with some newbies and they're riding down the trail and then all of a sudden I've got missing lugs and yeah.
Yeah. Well, so the lug thing is there's a science to it, and I guess I'm revealing my secrets by talking about it, which is perfectly fine. But it rolls down the trail about the same as the 2.5. It's not edgy when you corner. When you ride on hard packed snow, it's not edgy. You don't feel like there's a big track under there. So the narrow rails and everything going on there helps blend all that stuff. So I don't lose any top speed out of the kit, like if I'm just racing down the trail. So and then as far as durability goes, there's something to be said for that. So a lot of the new tracks on snowmobiles and stuff, they're made very lightweight. This track could be a lot lighter weight than it is. It's actually a quite heavy of a track. It's just designed lightweight. That makes any sense. So what I mean is, like when you look at the base of the paddle, where it attaches to the belt, we're 1.25 inches wide. Most lightweight tracks are only 3/4 of an inch wide where it connects the paddle to the belt. We're an inch and a quarter wide. We have a lot of surface area where that paddle attaches to the belt, which creates strength in the paddle, and it creates strength in how the paddle's attached to the belt. So it's going to be less likely to get knocked off there.
Got it.
So it's not a dainty track.
No, it doesn't look like it. So now what about the paddle shape design, like the actual, is it fairly similar to your 2.5 inch?
Yep, very similar. They're built as a scoop. They're designed to lean over without folding over. So it has a thick tip. The tip of the paddle is meatier than probably any other track. And that's so that the tip doesn't fold over. So you want the paddle to flex back rearward, but not fold over. So the flex is what gives you lift. If it didn't flex, it would just dig a hole and you would get stuck. And if it folds over, then you're losing traction. So you want the paddle to flex, but not fold over. And you definitely don't want, on a snow bike, you definitely don't want the tip to fold over. So this track runs a very sturdy tip, but you will see the paddles start leaning back as it breaks in. And there's a break-in period. It will throw snow and chunks of snow up in the air when it's brand new, and 2 rides later, all that tames down because it'll start leaning the big paddle over. But man, all of that stuff is what gives you the lift. And of course, the paddles are built like a scoop too, so they do fold into each other. If you see that outer paddle's got a V shape to it. Yeah, so those are all the little.
Oh yeah, so they're folding in like this.
Yeah, folding
is what you're
into
saying.
itself.
Yeah. Oh, got it. I never would have even thought about that.
Yeah, so a combination of leaning back and folding into itself, and not letting the tip fold.
Is that a unique design there? That the V like that? I guess I've never.
Oh no, that's pretty common on a lot of snowmobile tracks.
I know, now I'm like looking at my other tracks here just to see. So if I'm hearing you correctly, a lot of what you have done here, besides changing the having a 3 1/4 126, it's all great and sounds awesome, but you've taken it to the next level and really thought through, like, all right, we don't want these things breaking. How are we going to fix that issue, and how are we going to keep it so that it rolls smoothly on the trail for those guys, those people that have to ride 10, 15, 20 miles of trails to get back into the deeper stuff.
Yep, it's a wish list of things you put together before you work with engineering. And we work with CAMSO on the engineering of tracks. So a lot of their expertise go into, my wish list of things that I want on a track.
That's awesome.
That's how they become, come to be.
So I'm sure the question is going to be asked. If not, I'm going to ask it and make sure, guys, you're posting your questions here. What can this be used with another kit out there? Is it just a matter of getting drivers, or is this going to only be specific? Because I'm sure guys are going to want to put it on their kits.
Well, I don't. So I don't have your answer 100%.
Yeah.
So here's what happens: is these kits have very minimal clearances in them.
Yeah.
And all these clearances help the kits be a little lower. So I don't think it's going to fit. I know, well, I usually try not to speak names, but I think Yetis have a clearance issue in the corner of their tunnel.
They do. In fact, I seen a guy that put a 3 inch on a Yeti, and he had to hack that thing apart, man.
Yeah. So what you do is you got to put smaller drive wheels on, and you got to lift the tunnel for more tunnel clearance. And now you're jacking up the kit. And that's the wrong direction you want to go with a snow bike. You want to go lower, not higher.
Yeah.
Lower works better in a lot of cases. So
look,
I don't think
what's lower? What do you, just to make sure
we
understand?
Feet height. We don't want the snow bike to get out of control tall, because then it's too hard to handle. So there's a balance between clearance and height and track paddles and all the things you got to clear in there. We do it because our frame has a big arc in it. right? Or frame gets really high, and that gives us pedal clearance. So if you're putting it on a timber sled or a Yeti or a CMX, I don't know. I know on a timber sled they're really tight already, and if you go smaller on the drive wheel, the track's going to start hitting the suspension arms. And on the Yeti, I think they already have a tunnel clearance problem. So yeah, you could go smaller on the drive wheel because they have a pretty big drive wheel, but it's still going to hit the corners of the tunnel, and you'll just end up hacking the track up. So I don't think it's going to fit. And 3 inches barely fit on these kits as is.
Right.
So then what's going to happen is, new tunnels are going to have to be made and modified. So I do believe that somebody will make a kit.
Oh yeah, we know it'll happen.
Right? And it'll be not just a track. It'll have to be a tunnel side and some things to alter the kit a little bit. But they will have to jack the thing up, which is the wrong way to go. Yeah. CMX, I don't know on a CMX. They have a great big drive wheel. They might be able to drop down 2 sizes and maybe fit this kit track on their kit. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. But it'll be fun trying.
Well, except CMX is not. They don't have the narrow rail, so that wouldn't work for that. So.
Oh, that's true. But yeah, they'll figure that out eventually, or maybe not. But everybody's got their own way.
So anything else on the track before we start getting questions in here?
No, let's get some questions going.
I think the first one is Darren. Gosh, he freaking was late. He said, "What did he miss?" Darren, you missed everything. Just kidding. Darren's a dealer, by the way, guys. So Darren's with Moto 365. So he's a dealer. Someone actually did ask a question. Oh yeah, right here. East Coast dealers. Alan, I'll let you answer that. I know you guys have the list that you put out.
Yeah. So go to our dealer page. We don't have any East Coast dealers, but we have some dealers that are more east than we are. But we have a new page on our website. We just got put up, and it's an actual dealer locator. So it shows you on the map where.
I think we lost you there for a sec, Alan. Are you back?
Yeah. Can you hear me all right?
There you go. Yeah, you were breaking up there for a minute. You were saying go to your website where?
Yeah, so go to our website, and at the top of the page, click on dealer, and it'll give you a map of where all the dealers are located. So see that guy out in Maine? He's the furthest east we got.
There you go. Here's your East Coast dealer, guys. Mountain View Adventure. So if you're an East Coaster, hit up these guys.
Yep, and then these guys have product in stock right now.
Hell yeah. And obviously, guys, going to dealers and doing that, you want to do that and do test rides and all that. That's one thing as well for all of you guys out there. If you want to come up here and ride the Mountain Top Kit, we've got last year's model. We've got this year's model we'll have for the season. So you guys can get out and rip it for a day, and we'll go get into the good stuff as well. But there's a lot of dealers.
One more thing I want to mention before we move on about dealers is all the dealers that we work with they specialize in building snow bikes in the wintertime. And we are looking for dealers out east. You can see that we don't have very many dealers, and that's on purpose. We want our product to be specialized, and we're looking for specialized dealers that specialize in building snow bikes. So we do hope to grow our dealer network out that way, and eventually we will. But we like them spread apart based on how many units sell in those areas, and everybody that you're going to call that's a mountaintop dealer is going to be a specialist and be able to answer your questions.
Yeah, no, I think they're riders. The dealers are riders.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. We need one in Florida. So if you're in Florida, make sure to hit them up. All right. Who else is on here? Dale said, thank goodness for Allen. Without him, I'd be riding sleds. That was a good one. So Dale, here we go. Dale Flatten. Why did you port the center of the track?
So one reason is it lets snow into the track, and the narrow rail kit is extremely hard on the high facts. And without the holes in there, they don't get much snow into the high facts, and it can pretty easily burn up the Hyfax. So we put a hole in the middle for that reason. So that's one reason. The second reason is that it lightens the track up a little bit. Now, there's an argument about, does it have as much flotation with a hole in it? Because obviously the hole may sink into the snow. I personally don't think that it loses deep snow performance. It does digest more snow through the suspension. It goes in and it goes out. So the suspension, the skid with the center port has quite a bit less snow plugged up in the suspension. That's just my findings. Everybody's gonna have a little different opinion, but my findings is the suspension is digesting the snow out of the center of the rail constantly, as well as taking on snow, which helps cool the Hyfax in certain conditions. So that's our purpose for the hole in the middle of the track.
And the Hyfax thing on these narrow rails is it's a real deal, guys. Like without that hole, it's easy to burn through these. I burned up a lot.
Yeah.
Not on your kit. Actually, yeah, and thinking about, I actually don't even think I went through on one on yours, but others, I've went through some others, especially the Yeti ones, man. I've burned through some freaking Hyfaxes on those.
Well, that's partly why.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's a great point. Yeah. So I guess I haven't personally ever noticed flotation wise. So
yeah, it does make sense that it wouldn't have as much flotation, but I think it's a myth. I think you could bust the myth.
Yeah, I'd agree there. I like that Spencer says, what's coming in the future? Like, man, we're just getting going here. He's already like, Spencer's like, well, what else is going on?
I said from the very beginning, very time you've interviewed me, I say, expect big things. Be motivated, and I got to put my money where my mouth is. So I say expect big things, and there'll be new big things next year, and there'll be new big things the year after that, and we're going to keep taking the snowbike industry to the next level. And that's my plan. So that's how it stays fun for me.
That sounds like an amazing plan, and I hope to ride forever until I can't walk anymore, because there's so much cool shit right now. Bikes, dude, and bikes is like a whole other discussion, right? I mean, the bike game right now is just stepping up in a major way, man. So that's just going to push the envelope even more with these kits.
Yeah, well, people always want to know what's coming, and we will release information about what's coming before it comes, and that helps people make their plans. But I can say this, our kit is platformed really well, and if you're constantly waiting for the next best thing, you may never buy one because there's always the next best thing coming. But our kit is platformed well, and these kits will accept the changes that we have coming. Yeah, they'll start looking different and everything, but you can still update things on them and adapt things on them. And one thing we will have on our website that we don't have completed yet is a page just for upgrades to kits. So
that's awesome.
We feel that builds customer loyalty to have upgrades for your kits. I don't want the customer to ever feel like he's cornered with having to buy a new kit every single year because we're advancing them so quickly. We'll advance them quickly, but we'll have upgrades for your year-old or even 2-year-old or even 3-year-old models.
Yeah, dude, that right there is like, I think that's music to a snowbiker's ears, right? Because everybody's like, oh, I got to buy the new thing every year. And guys, if you think about it, if you just take a step back and really digest what Allen just said, he literally said, hey, I am going to make updates so that every year people who bought my kit last year, you can just buy the updates to upgrade it, right? You don't have to buy a whole new kit. Like, that's a very different model, I think, than what is happening out there. There's other manufacturers that do that. But for the most part, it's like, buy the whole new thing. It's all new. And, that's it. So I'm sure at some point, like you said, Allen, it's going to get to a point. It's like, okay, well, maybe we can't update it all, but we can update a lot of these things, and going into this year, you want a new track, buy the new track, buy what's the total, by the way, off the top of your head. So I saw somebody post something about it. They're like, oh, it was like $1,800 for everything. Does that sound about right? if you wanted to get the whole new
yeah,
track.
that sounds about right. The track kit, which comes with all the parts, is $1,500. And then you can revalve the shocks for $300, and you can add a limiter strap for $35. So that's basically what's required to update it performance-wise to a 24 model.
Got it. No, that makes sense. Todd Skelton from up here, he says, what's your favorite bike for your kits? I already know that answer, but yeah, let's hear it.
This is really a pretty easy question, but I have favorites of things I like about different bikes, but I spend most of my time on a KTM. I really like Yamahas. So I have a Yamaha and I have a KTM, and you can see them back here. And this green bike is my friend's motorcycle. It's a brand new motorcycle, Kawasaki, but I like the Yamaha for its top end power. I like the KTM for its reliability and simplicity to work on. So if I had to go buy a new bike, it'll be a KTM. But I'll be honest with you, my Yamaha outpulls it.
Your Yami's just so dialed, right? Like you got it just how you want it.
It is, but it is a chubbier bike, right? It's heavier, but it just has this top end power that just gets it done. And sometimes, you know,
so
what top guy.
what year is yours?
Mine is an 18, so it's old.
So there you go, guys. Riding an 18. So why does yours have more top end power?
Don't know, just does.
Okay. So
Rush Yamaha, that thing. He loves it when it's all blowed up. It blows up every once in a while. He just loves it when it's blowed up because I can pass him on that bike.
Speaking of Rush has a very important question. I don't know if he's sitting there, but that's a really good question.
He's asking why I like to eat at Stockman's because I like meat and potatoes.
I don't even know what Stockman's is. Is that it must be an Idaho.
It's a steakhouse that we go eat lunch at.
Got it.
And they got a steak, a 12-ounce steak with 2 sides for $12.
Damn, I'd be eating there too.
That's lunch. You can eat lunch cheaper there than you can eat at Subway.
I don't even think you can make that a steak and like at your house for that. No. So
come here, Kyle. That's where we're going.
Well, I know. I just need to get down there like soon. Yeah, I've got some plans there. We'll chat later. So Yamaha is Allen's favorite. Dale, he's got a really good question here. That's a great question. Is the kit closer to the bike engine? And I forget, people are going to be listening to this on podcasts. So Dale asks, is the kit closer to the bike engine and tucked under the bike more than the Aero?
No. What's different is where the suspension is mounted. So the drive axle is relatively in the same distance from the foot peg to the drive shaft. That didn't change. What we did change is we have lifted the drive axle, because if you go farther forward, the track begins to run into the frame. So we have lifted the drive axle, so it's higher, so it has more ground clearance. And I'll explain why this is. If you measure from the ground to the skid plate and from the ground to the center of the axle, our axle is approximately 1/2 to 1 inch above the bottom of the skid plate. On all other snow bikes, it's approximately 1 inch below the skid plate.
So this is higher, 1 inch to 1/2 inch higher than the dirt bike skid plate.
Yes, center of the drive axle. So the purpose of that is when and this helps it roll in the snow. And Reagan actually mentioned that it rolls easy. You feel that. And I'm going to get to where the suspension is positioned here in just a second, which is where the difference is. When it's higher, the snow entering the track, it's entering below center line of the axle. If the axle is below the skid plate, it enters, as it comes off the skid plate, it enters above center line of the axle, and those paddles are going the wrong direction. It's like a skid plate on a snowmobile. the skid plate hangs below the drive wheel, and that's ideal. On a snow bike, we don't get that option. So we're fudging all those measurements. The snow will enter at least below center line of that axle, and those paddles are starting to go in a forward motion instead of a rearward motion as they come off the back bogey wheel. So that's one thing. So that limits our ability to put the track farther forward on a dirt bike. What's different is our suspension is mounted 5 inches further forward than it is on an aero, or really any snow bike. So if you measure from the foot peg to where our arm bolts on in the tunnel, it'll be 5 inches closer to the foot peg. The rail is also 5 inches farther forward. So our rail, it just barely clears the drive wheel. And if you measure the front track shock, it is also 5 inches farther forward. And that's no joke. You can take a tape measure and just measure different points from different points, and you will get that same measurement thereabout. So because of the further mounted front suspension, the further forward the suspension is mounted, the rider now sits over the suspension, and that's how we get such a light front end. That's in combination with suspension type and stuff as well. So that takes the weight off the front end and makes it ride how it does and makes it corner how it does. So it rides more on the track because of the further forward mounted suspension. So there's a fine line in height of the motorcycle too. So this is a pretty loaded question. This is a great question. I like to talk about it. If the bike was higher and we moved our skid forward, we would have an extremely severe track angle. So there's a balance between how high the axle is, how high the bike sits, and how far forward we can keep the skid. So that is the answer. It's the skid that's moved forward. It's not the track. The track is actually higher for ground clearance, but it's not further forward. Just the suspension is.
Just the suspension, which,
yep.
And I think that, like Allen was saying there, a big part of that translates to riding more on the skid versus the ski.
That's right.
Well, that was a good question, Dale, and it was a good. Hopefully, any other thoughts on that, guys? If you have anything else, feel free to throw that one out there. But I think Allen answered that pretty well. Let's see, we've got the other one. Here we go. Nick Burns, is the weight about the same as the other brands?
Yes, they all vary within 20 pounds of each other. So our kit is approximately 110 pounds. If you weigh, when we weigh our kit, we weigh it with all the fitment components, the chain. And so some of the manufacturers aren't weighing it exactly the same as we are. So a Yeti is about 100 pounds with all the fitment components. Our kit is 110 pounds. Don't quote me on this, but I think a new Riot or new Arrow is about that same weight. So they've shaved some weight off of that one. And then the Riots are a bit heavier. So they're about 120 to 130 pounds for a Riot. And I don't know on a CMX, I think they're right in there as well. So yeah, they're all pretty comparable in weight. It's really hard to get them much lighter than that.
Yeah, and I mean,
carbon fiber and titanium, and
yeah,
it takes so many components to put one of these together, and they got to be a certain strength, otherwise they're too lightweight or too dainty. They get bent too easy. So that it's pretty lightweight for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, at some point there's what's the term? I can't even remember. It's like an engineering term where it's too light and then you start having issues.
Yeah. Well, we all know that from our snowmobile days. Same thing on those. But there is room for improvement here. There's no doubt about it. And we fully expect to take advantage of that.
Fully expect to take advantage of what?
Weight savings where we can.
Oh, weight savings. Yeah. Well, once adamantium comes out, you guys they'll get that going. David, any future of working? I like this question too. Any future of working with BRC again on a dedicated setup? For those of you who do not know what BRC is, BRC Racing out of Canada, Riley Will, awesome dude, buddies with him. Allen's buddies with Riley. Riley makes the BRC 500 motor, the 500 two-stroke motor for the KTM 300 platform, also for the Yamaha YZ 250 platform two-stroke. And Riley is, I would say, he's definitely the GOAT of the two-stroke world. And at one point in one of my interviews as well with Riley, you can hear about him talking. Him and Allen at one point were working on trying to work on a motor, dedicated, motor and bike setup. So that's probably what David is referencing.
Yeah. So BRC, Riley, Allen, Mountaintop, we our both of our issues is we have to make a living in whatever we try to do. So he's required to sell engines and I'm required to sell snow bikes. Otherwise the doors get closed. So I think that's why we're both very focused on what we're doing right now. So he's focused on building motors that go into snow bikes and dirt bikes, and I'm focused on building a kit that's on a motorcycle. But I think his dream and my dream are very much the same in the sense that we want to build a dedicated vehicle someday. And when I become more established with what I'm doing, I am instantly trending towards that direction. And he is my first phone call, and we have talked. We're not doing anything together at this time, but when the time is right, we very well might be. And in my opinion, a dedicated vehicle right now is what we would call a ready-to-ride machine bike. It would basically, in my opinion, as of today, a ready-to-ride vehicle would be a dirt bike that you could buy that's set up as a snow bike where you don't get wheels and tires, and it has a BRC 500 motor in it that's got all the best, C3 parts on it, and the manufacturers, the parts come together and say, let's put a machine together. And so now it's going to be a question of who's the right person to put that machine together and assemble all those parts. So it takes a lot of relationships in the industry because you got to have bike frames and suspensions and seats and plastics and all those parts. So it's on my bucket list of things to achieve in my lifetime.
I was gonna say it's a large undertaking. I've talked to so many people like, why is there not a snow bike ready to go? And it's like, dude, there's so many moving pieces to that. One of the biggest. Yeah, go ahead.
It would be very expensive.
Yeah.
All these companies, including us, we don't make huge volumes. We're not like an auto manufacturer or even the size of a snowmobile manufacturer. We're guys building parts with, CNC machines and stuff. So we're not like we're in mass manufacturing. So these things are made on a small scale, which is why they cost so much.
Yep. And one thing that you guys need to understand, who's listening to this, watching this with the dedicated vehicle thing, and who really walked me through it was Brett Blazer at one point. Him and I were talking about this. I was like, Brett, what the hell? Why don't we have one? He's like, dude, you got to remember. He's like, making a Snowbike kit is one thing, right? But making a dedicated vehicle that now has to do EPA and all the bullshit that the government's going to require to make a vehicle, you're talking millions and millions of dollars. So while we all want one, Allen, everybody, we all want one, it's going to probably be a while, and the industry is going to have to continue to grow. So for anybody listening to this, like, well, I'm just going to wait for a dedicated machine. Like, don't do that. Help the industry grow. Buy the kit, buy the bike, put it together, and go out there and ride. Like, if you think about guys, the OGs, right? Like Allen and Mark Hoffman and these guys that have been in the snowmobile industry, and you look back at the 90s and the early 2000s when they were making these badass custom snowmobiles, they are the guys that pushed it to now where snowmobiles, I mean, they're not the only ones. There's lots of players, right? But they are some of the original guys that helped get it to a point where, hey, let's make these custom sleds so that now we've got these badass snowmobiles that are just insane, right? I mean, it's so crazy to think about what these sleds can do and watch what they can do versus 20 years ago. So that's where we're all at, guys. We are all part of the snowbike industry right now. We're going to help propel it to the next level so that in 10 years or whatever it is, we're going to look back and be like, dude, remember that call when we were sitting there with Allen and Kyle bullshitting and looking at the Mtn Top Kit and talking about this? Look where we're at now. We've got it. And we're all going to go to the store and buy one, and it's going to be a fun, happy day.
Yeah, it's coming, I guess. I think that's what everybody thought Polaris was going to do. Maybe they still do, but yeah, I mean, it is an OE manufacturer type project, but
yeah,
that's aftermarket, guys. We'll get her done. Just because it's what we want to ride.
Hell yeah. And for everybody, if you're watching this, listening to this now, BRC 500 will be paired with a Mtn Top Kit here at Snowbike Nation. So you can watch for that. And if you want to try it, come up here and ride. I will tell you, I haven't even done my review on that BRC 500, but dude, it's so it just puts a giant smile on your face. And it's a lot of fun. So that's coming.
Well, I haven't expressed my feelings too much about it, but I want one terribly bad too. I just have to make some money before I can buy one.
I'm putting you on one. I'm putting you on it, dude.
Well, I've been on them, and I'm going to have one, but for right now, I'm paying my bills is more important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot into that track right there.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, okay, Doug, and I think I don't know if this is a subjective question, but I think it's a lot of this comes down to personal preference, right? So I'll let Allen answer, and then I'll answer that because I've ridden a shit ton of bikes and kits at this point.
Yeah. All right. Well, so so he's basically asking what the best machine is to pair your kit to. I mean, they're all good, but the best machine in my opinion are two machines. The 3 1/4 is best paired to a 450 motocross bike. The 2.5 inch kit is probably best performing is going to be a 450 motocross bike, but there are more and more people running 300s, and the 2.5 inch kit is going to be best paired to a 300 2-stroke, a modern one. So I've ridden some 2-strokes. They're extremely addictive. They work really well with the 2.5 inch track because they don't bog out as easy. So the best bike is going to be a 450 bike for this new 3 1/4 inch track. Close ratio transmission, which is a motocross bike. I like to keep my bike lightweight, so I don't add a ton of junk to it that adds weight. I don't need Trail Tech Voyagers and Trios and all those things that add up to the weight on your bike. I like to keep it lean. I do carry a heavy set of tools because I have to fix everybody's motorcycle that I ride with. Fix my own bike. And if I was to go buy a new bike today, it would be a SX450 KTM.
They
bike in the picture is my bike.
Yeah, they do put a
sure, it doesn't have a gas and stuff on it, but it will.
They do put a big smile on your face.
And I think there's some synergy in friends and the amount of gear that everybody packs. So these snow bikes, they need to be lightweight. And I think everybody is carrying duplicates of everything. If your riding group could say, like, okay, you carry the tools, you carry the survival gear, you carry the first aid, you carry the ropes and recovery equipment, you could totally be a lot lighter weight in general, and the feel of your motorcycle is a lot better.
The caveat to that, because I agree, and I do that with my fleet because I always know, hey, we're going to have, X amount of bikes so I can distribute stuff. But the caveat is when you go with your one bike and your buddy, the other buddy, you're like, shit, he's got this stuff. So then you go like trying to repack stuff. But yeah, I agree. I would have to concur with Allen's assessment in terms of a 450 motocross bike. I always tell people, if you want the easy button, you remember the Staples easy button where you just like buy the bike and throw a kit on it. The 450 motocross bikes, they just rip. They do so well as snow bikes. The power, the way they deliver power. I mean, they're made to go fast and hard, right? I mean, you look at these guys riding them in supercross and motocross. I mean, instant power. So that being said, the caveat to that is, you know, as I have ridden all these different bikes and tried different things, because I do dirt bike tours in the summertime, I really like the 300 two-strokes. Hands down, 300 two-stroke, best single track trail bike. I don't know how you could do better. I've ridden the other ones and they kick your ass. So 300 two-stroke, ultimate enduro single track dirt bike. That does not translate to the best snow bike. Now, that being said, and Allen said it right, it is extremely addictive. So I tell people, if you're sub 200 pounds, if you are a damn good rider, you're a good dirt biker, you ride real aggressive, and you know how to keep that thing in the power, dude, the two strokes, they put a smile on your face every time. And yes, there is 5% of those times I'm like, yeah, I wish I was on the 450. I would have a little more power. But, you know, ultimately, if you're that type of rider, you'll have a good time on the two stroke. But if you're buying a dedicated snow bike and that's what you're doing, dude, 450 motocross bike, can't go wrong, man.
Yeah. And Doug Hickey's a good customer of ours. So thanks, Doug. Thanks for your business.
Yeah. And that was a great question, Doug. Tyson, this is a really good question here, and I'd love to hear your input. And I've got some thoughts. Currently riding a competitor's kit with built front forks, switching to the Mtn Top kit where you don't need it. Is that going to be a problem? Is it going to be too stiff? Good question, Tyson.
Okay, so that's a pretty good question, and there's a few things to that answer to help describe around it as well as answer the exact question. So if your front end on our kit, if your front end is built too heavily, now I would say a 0.65 spring would be absolutely max on our kit. I think a 5.4 to a 6.0 spring is probably the perfect size spring. And if you got a 6.5 or a 7.0 spring, it's probably too much. And what you're going to notice is it'll ride really high on the front end, which is a good feeling off trail. On trail, it's going to head bob. You're going to go through the little stutter bumps, and it's going to be like boom, 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 boom. It's going to be head bob in the handlebars. And you'll be like, wow, it doesn't ride very good. And that's why, because it's not absorbing the bumps. Preload in the front end is not good. So a lot of the fork builders are building and preloading the spring on top of putting a heavier spring in. That's really bad for our kit because even on the stock front end, as it sits, it almost sets at full extension. So depending on how beefy your forks are built. Now, trail bikes with stock front ends are a little bit soft. Motocross bikes with a stock front end are just about right for the average rider. It's not right for Reagan. It's not right for Darren Peel. It's not right for JT Cox because they jump big, and so they're going to need a built front end. So, yeah, I would say that they would probably run up to a 6.5 spring would be my guess. So we kind of recommend just the stock front end on a motocross bike is what we say, but there's some caveats to that because like trail bikes have way soft front ends and they're probably too soft, but they still work okay if you're an average rider, but they're not going to work okay if you're a jumper or
And I'd even go so far to say as because with all of mine, they're all enduro bikes. I put springs like it's doable, especially if you're lighter, but it felt way better with 0.58, like way better. It just sat really, really nicely. So that's a
good size.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hesitate if you get a kit. I would certainly try it with the front end that you have currently built for your bike. I wouldn't like go change it before I ride it. And if you love it, keep it. If not, then what you'll notice is it'll head bob and feel kind of rough to you.
And for everybody, guys, ultimately getting snow bike forks is badass. It's the way to go, getting revalved and all that. In my opinion, I'd like to hear your opinion, Allen, but doing a very simple spring change, which is easy. It's easy to do. Takes you 20, 30 minutes per side. throw in some more oil, 10 weight oil, dude, you're money. It's like, it works really well for the average person.
So I have really good luck with the air forks on the KTM. I know some people have had some air leaking issues with them, but it's only when they like live in frozen trailers and they're never like warmed up. So I don't have any issues with my bikes, and I find that the air fork is quite a bit sturdier of a front end than a factory fork, like a factory coil fork, like say that comes on the
And
Yamaha.
you're not talking about the Air Pro. You're talking about like the actual KTM Air Force.
Yeah, like the WP Air Force, whatever they call that.
Yep.
So, and I don't really run higher pressure in them. I just run 165 PSI, which is kind of the factory recommended pressure. And they're just very bottom out resistant, and they work pretty darn good, and they're very lightweight. Like if you're trying to keep your bike light, because you can add up to 4 pounds just by putting bigger forks or bigger springs in your forks. Right. Yeah. So if you're trying to keep a lightweight front end, you add a trio, it's 5, 6, 7 pounds. You add springs, it's about 4 pounds. So yeah, if you can make it work. So there are some bike builders out there like Toby Till at RMS. He likes the air forks and makes them work really good, and they stay really lightweight that way.
And you've never had leaking issues, you said?
No, because I've never had one leak, and it's because my bike lives in a heated garage or a heated trailer or my cabin garage, which is heated, and I pull it out and I go ride it in the frozen snow. Well, I don't have any issues because it's already heat sunk, and that holds and all day long. But sometimes if they live in a frozen trailer, like for a week and it's like bitter cold, yes, they can have issues.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. No, that was a good question. And I think what Alan said is everybody, do this, do that, everybody's going to say a million different things. Like, go freaking ride it. Just like ride it and see what you think. You might be like, you know what, for what I do, this is great.
So I had one situation with a friend that had a different kit on before, and he put our kit on, and he didn't think that it rode very well. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense at all because it rides really good. And I got on his bike and I rode it down the trail. We were on the trail. There's fresh snow and stuff, but it was too stiff, and it just head bobbed, just boop, 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 like it didn't have any suspension in the front end for the small bumps, and that's what he was feeling. And I'm like, oh yeah, it definitely shakes you up. There's your problem.
Yeah, it was suspension.
Yeah.
And what was it that you did? Like, what did you guys tweak on it?
Well, nothing. I think he took it home and softened up the front end. It felt very stiff.
Yeah. I think it is a very personal preference. So go ride it, guys. But you definitely do have a light front end. Brandon Blow, seen Brandon. I've been following him for a long time too. So Brandon, question for the two of you: what is your bucket list riding spot? I'll let you go first, Alan.
I don't really have a bucket list. I live in the mountains. I do everything in the mountains. I ride side-by-sides in the mountains. I have a cabin in the mountains. I ride snow bikes in the mountains. So my bucket list riding is terrain that I can ride loops. I don't like going to areas where I can't make a loop in the mountains. So everything I do is a loop, and I try to make those loops perfect circles on my GPS. And if I can mob and make a loop, that is my perfect riding terrain. So I'm
just thinking Alan's OCD like loop, like you're like, I gotta make a perfect loop. You go out and ride.
I want it to look good.
That's great, dude. I love it.
So I love riding with people who know where they're going in their area, and I can just follow and not have to do the thinking. So I love the Kalispell area. I go up and ride with Rush, and Rush knows his way through the woods like nobody's business. And we go absolutely.
He doesn't slow down. He doesn't slow down.
We only stop for seconds at a time before we're going again.
If you ride with Rush, fun. It's like you better be ready.
Yeah, don't take your helmet off.
No,
you may never find it.
Yeah, like where do you go?
So that's really fun. Northern Idaho, where I'm from, in Sandpoint, Idaho, I put on nice loops, and I know I've been riding there my whole life, and I know every tree, and I can ride my snow bike so fast, like it's just mind-boggling how fast we can get from one end of the terrain to the next. And we make these big loops, and there's several big loops in just one riding area that you can do. So that's super fun. My new area, which is Island Park area, which is more of a tourist area, I have turned that into rides and places that nobody's ever been before, as I've just been exploring all this new terrain that I don't know, and I'm having a lot of fun doing that. Riding with Reagan is also, if you had to just say one bucket list thing, to go ride in Vernon, BC, I don't know, it doesn't really get you better than that. So I think if I had to just pick one place to go, it would be to Reagan, and to follow Reagan through the woods and go do what he does. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pacific Northwest stuff, I guess it's kind of all the same.
Have you ridden much in Colorado or Utah?
I went there and rode with Toby Till for the very first time. I had probably one of the best trips of my life, and I'll be going back there every single year from now on. That's awesome. Again, my biggest challenge with there, though, was the altitude. I adapted to it well because I live at pretty high altitude, but man, my bike is just sucking wind, man. Like, I feel bad for those guys. It's like you're riding at an average of 10,000 feet, and you go up to 12,000 feet, and these motorcycles, where I'm pulled third gear, I'm back to first gear there.
Damn.
And that was an eye-opener for me.
I was going to say two things, not only bike, and being where I'm at in Kalispell, you've obviously ridden here. One of the really cool things about this area is we start out at 4,000 feet and we're not going above 7,000. So not only do you have bike power, but you're not sucking wind. So that
so the terrain in Colorado was awesome. I'll be going back, but man, I think I'm going to need a turbo. Gotta have turbo.
Yeah, or the BRC 500. I kind of would agree with Al. I'd agree with Alan though.
There's gotta be a turbo.
A turbo 2-stroke. Is that a thing? Can you do that?
Whatever, dude. I just need a turbo. I want to get one.
Yes, I do. I'm hoping
BRC
to ride one of those
with a turbo. There we go.
That's what I'm saying. BRC 500 with the turbo. Hell yeah.
You just need to make that perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd have to agree with you, Alan. I mean, where I live, it's amazing riding. You kind of know it by like the back of your hand. I do really like riding down in Idaho Falls. Every time I went down there, except for the times when everybody's bikes start blowing up and we got a helicopter shit out. That's not fun. But it's never been my bike, at least. Knock on wood. It's always been other people's bikes. But yeah, it's fun going down there. I feel like I feel like Idaho Falls, Island Park area. It's very big terrain. It kind of feel like you're almost up in Alaska or something. And so it is really cool. I like riding down there.
Our terrain is challenging because of the vertical footage. Everything ends up in a gorge. And learning how to navigate that safely has kind of been one of the fun challenges. But you're on steep, dangerous ground, and people die here every year. And so I'm learning how to be safe on it. But there is better terrain for snow bikes, and I think it's more in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, no, I think it's very conducive to snow biking, as is Canada. And I've been very fortunate. I'm only an hour from the Canadian border every year, except for the stupid COVID years when they wouldn't let people across the border without the vax. I went up there and ridden with my good buddies, Shannon Mason and Matt Cox. And those guys are both just freaking rippers, and it is awesome up there. I mean, you feel like you're like, for me, I feel like I'm riding in Glacier National Park. It's just massively huge mountains, and you feel very tiny. And I feel like you could just go up there and ride for weeks on end and never go in the same areas. And last year we were able to go into Chatter Creek, which is a crazy area, and go in some ice caves. And that was just blew my mind. But I think my bucket list is I've always wanted to go down to Chile and go to South American ride. I've watched some of the videos down there, and I just think it'd be a lot of fun to go do that. So we're working on a trip there, and I'm hoping to, we're working on taking some guys down to Chile. So that'd be fun.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. I think it'd be a good time. Last question here. And actually, guys, before we wrap up, since we were talking about bucket list stuff, so I'm going to do a giveaway. I haven't even announced the whole thing yet, but I'm just going to announce it here for you guys. We'll be doing more about it soon, but go on my website, snowbikenation.com, put in your email up at the top right there, just hit submit. And what we're going to do is I'm going to do a giveaway. So we do this, this early season ride every year. We go up to Canada and we go ride with my buddies, like I was telling you, up in the Golden Creek area. And Chatter Creek and Golden area. And we're going to be doing that again. It's going to be in November. So we're going to give away 2 spots. So literally you just got to get to Kalispell and we're taking you up there. We're going to provide bikes. We're going to provide basically everything. You bring your own gear. I have gear if you need it. You just got to get to Kalispell. So we'll do the giveaway on that. And we're going to bring up just a shit ton of bikes up in my trailer. And that way the plan is to ride 3 days. And every day you'll be able to ride a new bike, a new kit. So it's really fun. We had a blast doing it last year and we're planning to do it again this year. And who knows, maybe we'll get some special guests up there with us as well. So we're going to be doing that. I'm pretty pumped about that.
But one thing here, Kyle, we've answered a lot of questions, some questions pretty slowly. Is there a way that we can answer more questions more quickly?
Yeah, I think we're actually done. There was one more. There was Nick, and I think that was it. So Nick said he's 6'3", 270 with gear. Does the new kit climb out? Is the limiter strap easy enough to adjust in the backcountry?
Okay, that's a good question. So big tracks haul around big guys. We're big guys, so we know what you're talking about. The limiter strap is easy to adjust. It doesn't require any tools. It has a wing nut. So it's got holes. It's got 4 holes in it. And you take the wing nut off. So we have a special forged steel wing nut. So it's a really strong wing nut. It's not your like hardware store one. And you basically have to push the suspension down and put it into a new hole and then put the large wing nut back on. And that's how you adjust it. So the strap can be a little unruly, sliding it between the shock bracket where it goes. And it's actually easier to do when it's wet or it's full of snow. So doing it on the hill is kind of recommended. What happens when you lose the wing nut in the snow? Well, you just ride it without the limiter strap. It's fine. But yeah, it's good quality bolt fastener. Yeah, no, just don't drop it. But yeah, it's easy to adjust, and it is easier to adjust in the snow than dry in the shop, because the strap slides through the bracket. It's between the bracket and the shock outlet, and it goes around that tube, and you got to kind of push through.
And when do you really you talked about not needing it. Basically, once you start to get a base, like you can kind of just get rid of it.
Yeah. If you ever feel that the kit is trenching on you because there's no base, and when it trenches, what you feel is you don't feel forward thrust. It might just be grinding along. Likely, if you were to pull it up 2 holes, it would propel you a lot better, and you'll notice that. So everybody's got to experience it to get the feel. The one thing I'm kind of a little cautious of is don't pull the strap up and just leave it like that year round. It will make the thing ride heavier on the front end, especially on frozen snow conditions. You do not need to readjust the shock when you suck it up either. So you just compress the suspension, reset it to the new hole. Don't readjust your air pressure. Leave it where it's at, because you still need the same bottoming resistance that you would have, when you adjust your air when it's all the way out.
Now the caveat, and And the caveat to running that, guys, is if you're running both of them to lower the whole kit down, that's a different story, right?
That's completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's really
and so as far as a bigger guy wanting to go the absolute best that he can go, pull the limiter strap up 2 holes and try that. You'll find that it gives you an advantage.
Okay, good to know. Well, that was all of them. Anything else, Alan, that you can think of that you wanted to talk about with the kit?
I think we've covered the things that I want to talk about. But yeah, I do love the questions. These were all really good questions. I like answering them. I'm a geek. I like talking about this stuff.
Just a little. Well, yeah, guys, if you have any other questions, feel free to post them, and then otherwise we'll wrap up. I know our last one was like 3 hours long last year. Well, I'm pumped.
And
we'll be.
So you know, I am scouring the internet for questions, and I will personally answer as many questions as I can find. They're hard to find when the posts get really big.
Yeah.
Right, because they're buried in all the other information. But I do my best to scour them and answer the direct questions.
And remember too, guys, you can always reach out to one of the dealers in your area if you have questions on any of this stuff. And if they don't know, I'm sure they'll get the answer for you. But that is the great thing here with Mountain Top and the smaller guys is you can go straight to the top, ask the questions, get direct answers, and you don't have to sort through, a bunch of BS.
Yeah. So one other thing I'll mention is we do sell our products through dealers. We don't sell them directly. So as of right now, we don't own any of our inventory. The dealers own it.
Yep.
So if you're interested at all to maybe look at one, ride one, or buy one, you would want to contact one of the 25 or so dealers that we have that are located on our dealer locator on the top page of the website. And we're happy to answer your question.
And there was one other question here. Nick Yoakum came in here and said, when should they be adjusting the live keel?
Live keel.
Yeah,
so I think you might be talking about the ski.
Or
the adjustment on the live keel.
Yeah, I think the only adjustment would be the side, the
ski skags.
Skags, there you go.
Okay, so I'll tell you some secrets about the ski. So the live keel ski is the center keel on the bottom of the ski. So it's the one in the middle. And our live keel has rubber built into it so that the skag can flex and move. And so we have 3 different size ski skags for that. The kit comes with the ski comes, if you buy a ski or you have a kit with a ski, it comes with our middle size, our middle height. And I found that works the best for everything. I don't really have a condition where I'd use the shorter one. I think if anything, I'd use the taller one, but that's not where you get your tuning performance from. You actually get more of an advantage by adjusting the height of the outer ski skags. Ours comes with the middle size. We have a smaller and a taller. And we also have some what we call straight cut skags that are more aggressive than what the ski comes with. So super deep snow, Vernon, BC, powder, bottomless dump, big gnarly ski skags work pretty nice. Definitely don't want to keep those things on there. They're way too aggressive on the trail. So we use the one on the left in the middle. That's the one that the ski comes with. And we have all of those other options. So bigger gives you more bite for deep champagne snow. Smaller ones give you better performance on hard pack snow. And we learned something this year about our ski. In the springtime, when you get to say the middle of April or even May, where the snow is really hard and crunchy and ruddy, we actually pull the outer skag off. We take it off completely and ride our bike that way.
Really?
It's a drastic improvement to steering that it goes from feeling like you're riding on hard, crunchy, weird, terrible snow that usually causes you to stop riding in the springtime to feeling like you're riding in 4 or 5 inches of fresh snow. The steering effort goes away. The pulling of the handlebars go away. That edginess of skag biting into trusty snow goes away. And that actually works really well, even when it gets slushy towards the end of the day. So the snow gets slimy and slushy. You don't even need to put the skag on. So we pull the skag off. We leave the thread insert in the ski. We don't remove that. You just remove the bolts, remove the skag. That is my secret to spring riding. And I will make a video about it to train people.
Yeah.
That is what they do, because it's such a drastic improvement. And because of the way our ski's made, our keel on the side isn't super thick, right? If you have a thick keel, you take your skag off, it's going to be washy and all kinds of stuff. That keel's not going to bite, but ours is pretty thin, and it will actually bite in without the ski skag. So crunchy snow, even the frozen trail, you would be surprised. A frozen trail almost rides better with no outer ski skag than it does even with any kind of a ski skag on the outside. Now, the middle one, you keep that one. That one stays on. And we haven't found much of a performance difference going to different height middle ski skags where the live keel is.
Well,
so hopefully that answers your question, Nick.
That was great.
No,
I didn't freaking know that, dude. That's awesome. Like, I'm excited to try that now.
So it's easy to do and it doesn't cost anything. Now Reagan, he does the big ski skags in certain conditions. So there's certain things in certain conditions he does, and he'll put on a big set. But they're easy to change. So now if you do take your skags on and off, I do recommend that you put some anti-seize or grease on the threads of the bolts. They are a stainless bolt, and you can wear the thread out. So lube them up so you can take them on and off without damaging them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Use lube, guys. It works good. Spencer, what is the one part I should have on hand just in case? What is the part that gets broken?
I carry bolts.
Yes.
I carry bolts for my bike, and I carry bolts for my kit. Let's see here. What's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that can happen is your rear axle bolt falls out and your flipping wheel flips sideways in the back and bends your rail. Had that happen. Didn't tighten it. Where kit has float shocks on it, you'll want to carry your float pump. I always carry some chain replacement parts. I have never had a chain fall apart on me, and it's because of my strategy of putting the master link in, but you can lose a master link and your chain falls apart. So I definitely carry one of those. But he asked, what is the one part? Man.
I know. I'm like trying to think of
not one. It's just a handful of little ones that can really save your ass. So
I mean, I guess
master link. I carry a straighter valve for the shocks and the forks in case I have one that leaks.
Oh, you actually carry a valve, huh? So you can replace it?
I do, yeah.
Nice.
Makes sense. But because the shocks have a sealed cap, that's not very useful anymore.
Okay.
But usually it's a bolt that falls out of your motorcycle that really screws you a day.
So your rear axle bolt came out, you said?
Well, I didn't tighten it, and from the shop, and I went out on the trail.
Okay.
I went down the trail, and the damn thing fell out, and I had an extra one, so I put an extra one in and kept riding.
Nice. Well, so beyond that, there's no just one part you can that Allen has, I guess.
But the thing that saves me and everybody else is my tool bag.
Yeah.
That's why I put emphasis on tools. That's why we have a tool roll and a tool list and all the things. And I hope that I can team up with Boxo or somebody to make a tool kit that really works, because that's what fixes everything.
Agreed. on that. 1000%. I can't tell you how many rides I've been on and something breaks on someone's shit. I'm like, oh, do you got this? No. Do you got this? No. I'm like, well, good thing I got it.
Well, in a lot of cases, the guy who uses a bolt, it's always a subframe bolt or one of something like that on the bike, a plastic bolt, and you can always rob a bolt from somewhere else and put it on. You know, if you have the tools, it allows you to do that.
Yep. You can jimmy rig some shit, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't carry very many parts.
No, I do recommend carrying chain and master link as well. Spencer asked another question: are dealers required to stock spare parts, and do you keep inventory ready for dealers?
We have every single part in stock here. We don't have a back order on a single part and never have since we started delivering the kits. So we don't require our dealers to carry a certain amount of parts, but it is accumulated over time. So that's why I don't push it. They buy this and that, and pretty soon they got a supply of stuff, but we drop ship. So if you call Darren Teal at Moto 365 and he doesn't have a part, we're going to drop ship it for him directly to you. If you're going to stop in at his store and he doesn't have a part, well, that's different. He will, well, I don't know about him, but me, I'll pull it off my motorcycle and give it to you. And that's how I end up with, you know, that's how I would do it to make sure that the customer gets the part immediately, because that's the most important thing, is that the customer is happy and he's riding.
And not only will Allen do it, but so will the ambassadors. Freaking Corey Milan hooked me up one time. I broke something and he was like not gonna be riding for a bit, and I was gone. I show up at my shop and it was here. Like, he dropped it off for me. So that, you know, that's how you roll with the small crew.
Our dealer network is small, and we have a pretty good friendship with every one of them, and I'm pretty sure I can vouch for most of them. They would do the same, pull part off their own machine to get you going.
Yep 100%,
so
man.
Don't get any better than that.
Yeah,
and if you have one kit, you have every part.
That's true. That is true. Last thing, so we got that one, and then I guess we'll wrap it up here with Reagan. Reagan jumped on and said something about the Skags, just like you said. Reagan said he likes the stock ski Skags if you're riding any kind of groom trail, just like Allen said, and he likes the tall ones on deep days and when the ride in is fresh roads.
Okay, so what he's meaning by the tall ones is he's talking about the outer ski Skags, not the center. Yeah, and he does like that straight, we call the straight cut, the tallest one we have, which is a 3/4 inch tall straight cut Skag. But they don't work good on the trail. No, well, they work okay on the trail, but they're not good.
A little bit jumpy. Yeah. Well, I think that was it. But we had some great questions. Thanks again, everyone, for participating. And I know I'm freaking jacked to go ride. I'm literally just like, yeah, I can't wait. So it's going to be a great season. Allen, thank you for your time and for continuing to innovate and pushing the envelope and just getting out there and getting after it and being a rider and making this shit happen, man.
Cool. Well, thanks, Kyle. I appreciate you setting these things up. There's not very many people in this industry that are doing extra things like you're doing. So please keep it up.
Well, no problem, man. Thank you. And until next time, and I'm sure we'll be riding soon.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, man. Thanks, dude.
Right.
Take it easy.
Thanks everybody that joined.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. We'll see ya.
Bye.